this is the result from this tutorial. I just wanted to show you beforehand so you can know what we are going to cover. All right, let's go ahead and demo an animation in After Effects. Of course, this is what 2025 looks like when you open it up. I'll go ahead and say new project. And notice we don't have any content in the project, and it's going to suggest two different options for you. One is to generate a composition within After Effects, another is to create a composition from content. We can go ahead and create composition 1. This can either be your main layer or it can just be a scene. Generally in After Effects, you will have multiple compositions and then you will compile those compositions into a main layer. So usually the first composition you begin with is not your main layer. We'll just continue with comp 1 and see where this goes. So you'll see that the resolution is 1920 by 1080, pretty standard. I think we should probably stick with that. The default duration is 30 seconds over here, and that the background color will be white, but you could change that if you wanted to. So now we have our first composition, and that has populated below in our timeline window. And notice on the left here, we do not have any content, we don't have any layers. So let's go ahead and let's create a layer. There are several different options. I'm going to begin with a shape layer where we can draw onto the composition. So I took a recording of my cat purring, so I know we all love cats, so I will just draw a cat for us here to animate. And with each shape layer, or with each layer, you really want to be intentional with how you're going to be animating everything. So I would suggest having a new layer for every independent object you want to animate. So I'm going to have a new shape for the cat's head, its body, its tail, and its eyes, including different shape layers for the pupils because I want the pupils to move independently from the eyes. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to grab the pen tool. Notice that once it started to, the shape started to close off, it filled the shape, and the fill color is on your right under the shape properties. So you can change this if you want to. Notice it will live change, but I'm gonna keep it as black. I have a black and white cat. So let's rename this to be head. New shape layer. Let's have the cat be in a loaf. I don't like that. I like that. Okay, we're gonna have it do this, close off the shape, and then actually I'm gonna put in a stroke. And then put it behind the cat head, and then also put a stroke on the cat head. So they are realized as independent objects. Or perceived as independent objects. Okay, maybe I like this, I'm not sure. I'm gonna use the select tool. That feels more like it. I'm gonna change the, first let me rename this layer, body. Or should I? Let's name it loaf. Okay. I'm gonna select it, grab the pen tool again, and I'm going to play with this a little bit more. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna add another vertex over, oh wait, I have a vertex. Okay, let me just demo how you can add more vertices by going to the pen tool, clicking, and then you have an add or a delete, and this can either complicate or simplify your shape. Okay, and then if you want to create more of a curvilinear shape, you can press the Alt key on a Windows keyboard, or sorry, on a Windows keyboard, it would be Option. Sorry, Mac keyboard would be Option. So hold down Option. And you get what's called a bezier handle, which visualizes the trajectory of the curve for you. They are a bit tricky to get a handle of when you start out. Okay, let's add a tail. You're using a Windows keyboard, and in my case, I have a Mac computer, but I have a separate Windows keyboard because I like the tactile keyboards that they make. And so I'm always kind of going back and forth between Windows shortcuts and Mac shortcuts. Hold down Alt key for Windows. Option key for Mac, you get the Bezier handle. G is a shortcut for the pen tool. V is a shortcut for the direct selection tool. So V, G, V, G. You will probably be toggling between those two quite often. See how that looks. Okay, good enough. Do I want a stroke on the tail only? Probably not, but let's just put it behind the loaf. Let's adjust the loaf stroke. The stroke is like an outline around a shape, so that can contribute to the style of your animation. So in this case, all of the objects have strokes, which then I had to appropriately layer them in my timeline so that the head was in the foreground and the tail was in the background. Great, let's add some eyes. And for the eyes, we can actually just use the ellipse tool. Let's go ahead and add a fill. And we will call this right eye, stage right. And then let's create the left eye. Oops. let's mess with them a little bit here. Get them looking like eyes. Cute. And then, like I said, I want to animate the pupils independently, so it looks like the cat is staying still but watching. So I'm going to create layers for each of the pupils. These pupils don't really need a stroke, so let's take the stroke off. Let's actually make it a bit bigger. A bit exaggerated. Okay. So let's do the same for the left pupil. And let's just copy paste, rename, left pupil. Cute. And I'm going to make sure to save this. Don't want it to be saved. Cat pupil. Animation. Okay. So let's animate the pupils moving back and forth for now. You'll notice that the timeline in After Effects is a little bit different than the timeline in Adobe Premiere. Each layer stays a layer. For instance, if I were to animate the left pupil so that it disappears after 2 seconds, this layer continues to stay the layer for the left pupil, unlike in Premiere where you drag and drop media content onto different layers. And then if you wanted to bring it back in again, generally you would create a new layer for when the left pupil comes back onto the scene. So let's shift select both the left and the right pupil. And let's keyframe their position, which is to say I want the pupils to begin here. And then let's move over in time a little bit and have the cat look that way, move over again in time a little bit, and have the cat look the other way. So right now we have and you'll notice that for this live rendering, just working within the software, we're only viewing it at 1/4 of the resolution. If I were to change this to full, you will see the clean vector graphics that this project is, and we'll go over vector graphics in class. But in general, rendering at full resolution can slow your computer down, especially if you're working on a computer without a lot of RAM. So that's why the default is to render at a lower resolution. Okay, so say the cat continues to watch something over time. Perhaps its eyes are moving pretty steadily every 4 seconds. You might want to have exact increments, in which case you can use this sort of timestamp display over here, where you can put exactly at 2 seconds, highlight the keyframes that you want to put there, and then say, okay, exactly 4 seconds later, or let's do 6 seconds later. So exactly at 8 seconds, it looks like these time frames are exactly there. Great. And then we'll do another 6 seconds later. So that would be at 14. Great. And if you want to make sure that it's exactly at, sorry, these aren't in seconds, these are in frames. This is in seconds. When you zoom in, then you see the frames, which is nice. It almost feels like you're working with film because it's visualizing each frame for you, and you can be super precise with that. Let's see. Let's do one more. I'm going to copy these keyframes because they retain the information on the position that we want to bring over to 20 seconds. Why not? Let's go to 26 seconds. Oh, that's not exactly. Copy this. Okay, so the cat is very slowly watching. Now I'm second guessing. Maybe this is a bit too slow. Well, in any case, you get the point. It's kind of fascinating to watch. So let's talk about the graph editor. The graph editor displays the velocity of the keyframes. So it visualizes for you the rate of change in the layer's position. And you'll notice that the rate is linear, here to here. If you remember from maybe high school physics, movement doesn't generally happen in a linear direction. Something like friction or a person's even like attention will tend to move towards something quickly and then kind of slow down at a lower rate. So you can actually adjust this as something called an easy ease, and there is the slightest of curves here. You'll notice now I'm just exaggerating so you can see the slight curve by easy ease. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of these and easy ease them. And you'll see in the graph editor, there's just a bit more of a curve to the movement, meaning that as the object approaches its position, its keyframed position, the rate at which it's moving towards that position slows down a little. It's a bit more natural, as they say. Something you can question. Software's ideas of nature are not always correct. Okay, let's go ahead and we can also animate the tail. And I'm going to show you what it looks like to not just keyframe the shape, which is what we did with the pupil, but to keyframe the paths on the tail, the independent vertices. So let's go ahead and twirl down the path, keyframe the path, and then let's put that at exactly 2 seconds. Let's keep all of the movement in sync. And then at 8 seconds, let's change the shape. I think we want this to be subtle. I'm not sure. I don't have a plan for this yet, but notice that the clock here is highlighted. If that's on, it will automatically generate keyframes for us when we change the layer. So, pen tool, let's just exaggerate the lines of the tail. Okay, and then let's see if we can repeat the keyframing of the paths over here at 14 seconds. I think I want it to make it more dynamic. So let's go ahead and let's delete that. And let's put the curves in the other direction. Let's make that change at like 10 seconds. No, I'm complicating this, but let's make that change at like 10 seconds. And then at 14 seconds, let's see. Let's continue with our editing. this is starting to look like it's morphing into something else, not necessarily. Let's get rid of this. I think that's a good sign. It could be better, but let's just use those two positions and oscillate between. So we have our starting position. And then oops, I didn't mean to move that. Why won't that paste? Copy, paste, okay. $20. Paste. And then at 26, we will copy this. Okay. And what was this other? Okay, we have our very slow moving cat. So that covers the basics of working with the shape layers in After Effects. You could also work with text. Let's go ahead and just play around for a little bit. Sure. Let's put this in the front so we can see it. Let's give it pink. Okay, and then let's actually put it behind the cat and then move the position. And of course you could animate this text. Let's add a shape layer, which will just create a flat color. And let's put it behind everything. I keep grabbing onto the object and the layer. but it's better to adjust your layers by grabbing onto the title. Let's now animate the color. And let's find out how you can do that, because I know that you can. So in effects and presets, I search for fill, and why is it under generate? Suspicious about that, but it looks like it's gonna work. Let's keyframe that, and then let's have it go from teal to like a darker teal. And then let's have it go to that color, whatever that color is. Cute. What about something else? Maybe we can talk a little bit about 3D layers. Right now we're working with 2D layers. You can change any of your layers to be 3D. And if you do, it complicates the layer. It then, let's go back to properties. So now that I have toggled as 3D, you'll see that there is an additional dimension. So if I untoggle that, we only have 2 dimensions. 3 dimensions. Let's zoom into this pupil. If I were to scale it across, let's unlock. So now it gives the appearance of actually scaling in space. We can't see this because it's scaling in a dimension that we don't have the angle for. So when is that useful? Say you wanted to add a light layer. Okay. The light will only apply to layers that are 3D. So why don't we select all of the like larger aspects of like the body of the cat. So head, loaf, tail. You'll now see that the cat is affected by the light. You can see it along the stroke here. So if we were to animate this light, and here's the light. this will be its starting position. So let's go ahead and begin keyframing that. Let's just keyframe everything just in case I want to change something. Let's go ahead and let's move the light so that it is rotating. Should we have it swinging back and forth? Sure. Okay, let's see how this looks. Let's have it go a little bit quicker. And we'll just kind of roughly apply this every 2 seconds. We will just easy ease all of this. Or you know what, if we have it rotating along the x-axis, then maybe it'll look like the cat's eyes are following the light. So cool, let's have it start here. Let's actually also change the intensity. Oops. I'm not sure what kind of physics that is. Okay. You can also change the kind of light that it is. Oops. Parallel. No, let's not do that. Ambient. Let's keep it with spot. I liked the idea of it going back and forth. So let's take away all of our keyframing. I guess it's the y-axis that'll be rotating. So we'll have it start here. Let's keyframe. Let's be crazy and have it adjust all the way across every 2 seconds. Let's see how we like it. Okay, and if you want to get really fancy, you can just start to copy multiple points over. But we want it to be at the same rate as the cat's eyes. So let's actually change the animation of the pupils. So we're going to begin with the cat looking over here. At 0. And then at 2 seconds, bring this, 4 seconds. Let's just make sure that's how it's working. Yes. And then 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 14 seconds, and then we can just copy ourselves from here. Okay. My only issue with this is that the pupils could be higher. That just got rid of all my keyframes. Let's not do that. We're gonna have to delete all the keyframes because I want the pupils to be higher. So shift select, higher. That way the eyes actually look like they are following the light. Starting over here, right? Okay. See how that looks. Okay. Or I actually think I like the pupils with the linear movement without the curvilinear movement that assumes that something slows down as it gets to its point of end. Because it's not like pupils have friction. Okay, I think that is how we will end. So let us now export our animation. Add to render queue. This has the previous version. We can delete that. And that's actually good to demo. If you had a previously rendered file, make sure you delete it because you don't want to render the wrong file. So just render the newest version. And best settings, match render settings, 15 megabytes per second. Render. It's going to render as comp1_1. You could have clicked on this and changed the title. Just make sure you change the title before you upload it to OneDrive. After Effects always has that nice sound, so let's go ahead and let's find this great cat pupil per if I'm you you would do last name, first name, title, cat people per. Great. Let's watch it. All right, hopefully this helps.